Welcome to MissouriNet.com. It is football time. The Missouri Tigers ready to kick off their 2015 season. They're taking on SEMO today. And joining us is Matt Michaels from our affiliate KTGR, part of the flagship station for the Missouri Tigers. Matt, I got to hand it to you right off the bat. After the first scrimmage that you and I saw of the Missouri Tigers, you said you got to pull the red shirt off of Drew Lock. I thought it was a little early to maybe think about that, but that's exactly what it appears as though Gary Pinkel's going to do. He's got Lock listed second behind Matty Mauk. So props to you, man. You were right on the money.
Well, and here's the reason why I said that. It just didn't make sense to me that what we were seeing out of him was not going to be enough to get him to earn the spot. Now, I guess he could have found a way to torpedo himself and not have good performances in scrimmages 2 and 3. But let's be clear. Drew Lock ended up, regardless of what competition he faced, with the most yardage passing in any of out of any of the Missouri quarterbacks that were vying for some sort of job and spot in the depth chart. He had the greatest completion percentage out of any of them, too, who got regular reps, and he got just about as many reps as Matty Mauk at the very end. He threw a pick. It's not like he was without mistakes. He got sacked quite a bit, but that's what a freshman will do. And when you saw him actually play, you saw him make every throw that there was to make on the field. He threw from several different arm angles, all accurately, all with zip. He looked very composed back there, even more composed at times than a guy who's done this for a year and 4 games in Matty Mauk. And it's something I think that Matty can learn from. Maybe he's never going to be the guy who's going to step up in the pocket and take the big hit all the time. He might prefer to extend plays with his legs and roll out and strafe, but Lock looked more the pro-style threat. Not that he wasn't able to get it done with his legs. And for a freshman, I was just extremely impressed. So I said, if I'm a coach, I don't know how I can redshirt him. I can find some way to use this guy this year to get reps and to help the team. And that appears to be what Gary Pinkel thinks is the right way to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up the perfect point, zip on the ball. That's what I was telling people. And they said, what does Drew Lock look like? I'm hearing all this hype. And he's got zip on the ball. But the other thing that I noticed, too, is he always kept his eyes downfield. And I saw that, too, with Marvin Zanders. I was pretty impressed with him. Zanders is so fast that you would just expect him to take off running. I was impressed that he was always looking downfield, ready to throw first, then run. Saw the same thing, though, with Lock. And I thought Lock did a great job of always keeping his eyes downfield, knew when to check down. Most of the time, like you said, he made some freshman mistakes. But his eyes were always downfield, always looking to throw the football. And, you talked about Mauk, and I think the media maybe on Monday with Gary Pinkel was trying to push this into some type of, could this become a quarterback controversy? And he said it has nothing to do with Matty and everything to do with just Drew Lock outplaying the rest of the competition. But to your point, I think what this does is kind of kick Mauk in the pants a little bit and say, hey, you know what? You've got some competition behind you. And but Mauk seems like the kid that's going to feed off of this. And actually, I think it will do him well.
Well, first of all, you got to ask the question, right? Does this have anything to do with your starting quarterback? And I think everybody rationally understands and believes Gary Pinkel when he says, no, this doesn't have anything to do with Matty Mauk. It has to do with having somebody prepared to go and what's the best option for the team. And let's be clear, if Mizzou has its starting quarterback go out in the late stages of a close game at Sanford Stadium against Georgia again this year, who's going to be the guy to come in and be the best possible option? And this isn't really necessarily throwing shade on Eddie Prince or Marvin Zanders. They had good camps themselves. But in the end, who's the best? Drew Lock looked the best. He looked the best out of any of the quarterbacks in the scrimmages. And Matty Mauk is a winner, and he knows how to get the job done. But we know he's had his bad games. I don't know if Lock's going to be an option on any sort of quick trigger. I don't believe that. Gabe DeArmond of PowerMizzou.com put it well on our show, The Big Show, yesterday. He said, 2 things have to happen for Drew Lock to be considered to come in as the starter. Missouri would have to be losing games, and Matty Mauk would have to look bad while they do it. Without those 2 things, it's not going to happen that you see Lock coming in to be the starter and supplant Mauk, because Mauk has 14 of the most important stat that matters, and that's wins. In the SEC, against tough competition and in tough situations, he's been battle-tested too. And I don't think he's a poor quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. I think that the Mauk narrative has been blown out of proportion by some people who always love to see the backup quarterback instead of the guy who's in there, and are forgetting the fact that Matty Mauk in fourth quarters, especially down the stretch run last year, was a guy you did not want to play against, ever. Yes, he had some miserable games and maybe even cost his team in large part a game against Georgia. He helped them barely come back against South Carolina, but I thought without Mauk's performance in that Georgia game, which was the worst of his career, that maybe Missouri would have been in that game at the very end. That's just how much the defense had to be on the field because Mauk was turning it back over. But it's not about him right now. Next year, I'd welcome a true quarterback competition because, like you said, it'll kick Matty Mauk in the behind. It'll drive him to be better. The best problem I think you can possibly have on a football team is we have two really good quarterbacks. Who are we going to play? We have to pick one, or we want to pick one. That's what Gary Pinkel has done right now. Mauk's his guy. But if he goes down due to injury this season, I don't think anybody is going to be bemoaning the fact that Drew Lock is stepping in that game.
Well, we could go so many different directions with this conversation, but the thing that I want to stress to Mizzou fans watching this is Matty Mauk, when you break down his quarter-by-quarter numbers last year, 9 touchdown passes, no interceptions in the fourth quarter, most passing yards in the fourth quarter. And that comes in times when you knew Missouri had to throw the football. The guy makes plays. Right. And listen, this team is going to struggle offensively at times because he doesn't have a lot of experience of who he's throwing the football to. So you might see some things happen on the field, and your initial reaction is going to be to blame Mauk. But I'm going to tell you, have some patience because there's a lot of young receivers, and we don't know the type of routes they're running or what they should be running, if they're making the right reads. So this is much more than just if there's offensive struggles. This will be much more than Matty Mauk, and don't throw him under the bus yet and wish for luck. Let's bring him along, get him into some valuable game time, a series or two each game, and build that up. But Mauk is still the best option to win. I think this is by far is the biggest story for this first game against SEMO, because the Red Hawks are coming up here to get a paycheck, and we're going to get a chance to see what the offense looks like.
Well, and I wouldn't necessarily be totally sold on the fact that the offense is going to have its problems. I think that the wide receivers they have proved themselves capably in scrimmages. Now, it'll be different when you go against SEC competition. We all realize that. There are bigger, stronger guys in that conference than anywhere. But then again, they did play against the 1s and 2s of Missouri, and we think Missouri's defense is still probably going to be pretty doggone good, although we still have some questions along the defensive line because we just haven't seen them do it before. But you have so many returning starters in the back seven that I think if you're a wide receiver and have performed against them, you've performed against some of the best in the conference. That's the attitude that this team has taken. They've even said it publicly in a couple of the post-scrimmage interviews and stuff, saying, hey, if we can get the job done against these guys, we feel really, really good about ourselves. I think that, frankly, the offense kind of hinges on Mauk a little bit more. If Mauk is inaccurate and he is part of the problem, you'll see them struggle. But I think he has wide receivers that can get open, and if he can throw to them, I mean, granted, there's always room for improvement, but if he can throw to them in space, I don't see any reason that they're just going to be inept and drop the ball. They'll be able to make plays in space for him this season. Just because we haven't seen them doesn't mean they're not capable. I really feel a little bit more confident about this offense, I think, than many people were certainly several months ago, and even that many people are now. I think that they can do some good things this year. I predicted Matty to have a breakout type of season last year. It didn't happen. I'm not saying this is the year, but I'm saying I see all that potential for him still if he makes some tweaks to his game and improves his accuracy.
Well, the receivers are certainly promising. I talked with Matty on Monday. He said that he's been working on stepping up in the pocket, knowing when to throw the ball away, not trying to make a big play every single time. And they're going to go to some more read option. He's been used to playing in a system through high school where it's been, 5 wide. So some different wrinkles today. It'll be really interesting to see how this offense has evolved since last season. Matt Michaels, another busy day for us, 3 p.m. kickoff. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the game. We'll see you up at the stadium later.
That sounds great. Thanks, Bill.
Yep, and check out Matt at KTGR.com and the big show too, man. Always enjoy listening to you guys.
Hey, we are doing our best to make no ears bleed from the hours of 4 to 6 in Columbia. And if we have done that, in spite of ourselves, we have done our job.
Yep, well, you're doing a great job. Thanks a lot. And thanks for watching us here at MissouriNet.com. Have a great day. And go Mizzou.